changing your life one story at a time. This is the Chicken Soup for the Soul podcast with Editor-in-Chief Amy Newmark.
Hey, it's Amy Newmark with your Chicken Soup for the Soul. So do you ever feel like you're missing out because you've stopped doing new things? I know I have to fight against that all the time, that impulse to avoid new things, even for simple reasons like not knowing how to get there, not knowing where to park, not knowing how to pay. It's really easy to fall into a rut, and then you let your world become smaller. And that's why we made this new book called Chicken Soup for the Soul, Just Say Yes, with 101 stories about all these different ways that people have stepped outside their comfort zones and made their worlds bigger again. I'll be sharing stories from this book for the rest of this summer, and I'm going to talk today about people who pursue a passion years and years into their adulthood and actually start a new career when a lot of people are finishing careers. In our first story, Shannon Anderson tells us that she always knew she wanted to be a teacher, but she also loved writing, and she was good at it from an early age, winning a school-wide writing contest in 5th grade. In high school, she worked in the children's section at the local library, and she loved it. And that made her think about writing her own children's book one day. She says, being a teacher was the more sensible of my two goals. Becoming an author seemed more like trying to make it as a musician or an actress. Ordinary people from tiny towns surely didn't get to do such things. So she did the sensible thing. And she became a 1st grade teacher, and she did love it. But then she won a fellowship for teachers who wanted to pursue a passion of some kind over the summer. She wrote up a 6-week detailed plan for a summer of learning how to write children's books. Well, 2 years after receiving that fellowship, Shannon's first picture book came out. She kept teaching, but she was also doing book tours and publishing new books. She says, in my 25th year of teaching, I thought about what it would be like to write and do author visits full time. It seemed incredibly silly and selfish. It would cut our income in half. My older daughter was in college and getting married the following summer, yet my younger would be in college before too long. How could we afford to do that? I was supposed to teach for at least another 10 years. Still, I couldn't shake the thought. Shannon got a 1-year sabbatical from her teaching job to try to become a full-time author. Unfortunately, her sabbatical was for the 2020 to 2021 school year, which of course was near the beginning of the pandemic. And that meant schools went remote and book tours to schools and stores were canceled. And it was too late to take it back. She couldn't get her teaching job back for that year. Well, it was still a test of whether they could make it on one salary, and they did. So Shannon did a very scary thing. She officially resigned from her teaching job and took a leap of faith. And then a really funny thing happened. Her daughter had just become a 1st grade teacher herself, but her husband got COVID right before school started. So Shannon quickly filled out the paperwork to be a substitute teacher, and then she went and took care of that 1st grade class for the first 2 weeks of the school year while her daughter watched on Zoom. Shannon would never have been available to help her daughter that way if she were still a teacher herself. She says, although it was really hard to leave my own classroom, I now get to travel to classrooms all over the country and keep creating books. And you know what? Some of my books are now on those shelves in the library where I worked in high school. Okay, so Shannon gave up teaching to pursue a longtime dream of being an author. And another one of our contributors, also with the last name Anderson, did the opposite. Karen Anderson tells us that she went back to college after getting a divorce, and that meant a whole lot of stepping outside her comfort zone, including math, including algebra and statistics. She managed to get a degree in organizational communication, which honestly, I don't even know what that is. But it turned out that she couldn't find a job in that field anyway, what with the competition from the younger college grads. There was a shortage of teachers at that time, though, so Karen decided to try that out by first becoming a substitute teacher and going back to college to get a teaching credential. But when she applied for full-time teaching jobs in her district, she wasn't even granted an interview. But then a guest speaker came to her class, a school principal from her city school district, and he did a mock interview with her in front of the class as part of a seminar or workshop on how to do an interview. Months later, Karen saw that principal again at a retirement party for another teacher at a school where she was subbing. She was nervous about approaching him, but she forced herself to do it, even though her heart was pounding. He remembered her, and that led to her getting a full-time job as a fourth grade teacher. And Karen says this, "Over the years, I had many students who reminded me of myself, filled with self-doubt. I realized I was the perfect fit for them. I could encourage them because of what my life's history had taught me. My past insecurities became one of my greatest strengths as a teacher. After carrying decades of insecurities with me, I had overcome them and earned a degree and a job where I could make a difference. I taught for 15 years, retiring from the school where I began." I'm Amy Newmark. Thanks for listening. If you want to learn more about our new books and everything else going on at Chicken Soup for the Soul, join the more than 2 million people who follow us on Facebook, Instagram, or X, or visit our website, chickensoup.com. To learn more about our Just Say Yes book, you can look at it on our website. And if you want to get your own copy, you will find it at Walmart starting in August. Plus, you can find Just Say Yes and other Chicken Soup for the Soul books at Walmart, Kroger, Meijer, Fred Meyer, other big box stores, Barnes & Noble, independent bookstores, and of course on Amazon. And please come back for our next episode. I'm going to share 2 more stories from this book about saying yes, about people who stepped outside their comfort zones because they were so focused on their missions that they just breezed right past their doubts.